Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing. And I forgot to turn the music off last time, didn't I? Yes. So what we are going to do is we are going to start to read the next book. And the next book that we are going to read is The Sleeper Awakes, because that, I believe, is the last book that I absolutely definitely want to read before we end. So we are going to make a go at it, and then if we decide we want to do another one, we can always do that. But this one I expect will take quite a while still. So let's crack on with that, and yeah. So The Sleeper Awakes by H.G. Wells. Chapter 1. Insomnia. One afternoon at low water, Mr. Isbister, a young artist lodging at Boscastle, walked from that place to the picturesque cove of Pentargon, desiring to examine the caves there. Halfway down the precipitous path to the Pentargon beach, he came suddenly upon a man sitting in an attitude of profound distress beneath a projecting mass of rock. The hands of this man hung limply over his knees. His eyes were red and staring before him, and his face was wet with tears. He glanced round at Isbister's footfall. Both men were disconcerted, Isbister the more so, and to override the awkwardness of his involuntary pause, he remarked with an air of mature conviction that the weather was hot for the time of year. "Very," answered the stranger shortly, hesitated a second, and added in a colourless tone, "I can't sleep." Isbister stopped abruptly. "No," was all he said, but his bearing conveyed his helpful impulse. "It may sound incredible," said the stranger, turning weary eyes to Isbister's face, and emphasizing his words with a languid hand, "but I have had no sleep at all for 6 nights. Had advice? Yes. Bad advice for the most part. Drugs. My nervous system. They are all very well for the run of people. It's hard to explain. I dare not take sufficiently powerful drugs." "That makes it difficult," said Isbister. He stood helplessly in the narrow path, perplexed what to do. Clearly the man wanted to talk. An idea natural enough under the circumstances prompted him to keep the conversation going. "I've never suffered from sleeplessness myself," he said in a tone of commonplace gossip, "but in those caves I have known, people have usually found something. I dare make no experiments." He spoke wearily. He gave a gesture of rejection, and for a space both men were silent. "Exercise?" suggested Isbister diffidently. With a glance from his interlocutor's face of wretchedness up to the touring costume he wore. "That is what I have tried. Unwisely, perhaps. I have followed the coast day after day from Newquay. It has only added muscular fatigue to the mental. The cause of this unrest was overwork, trouble. There was something." He stopped as if from sheer fatigue. He rubbed his forehead with a lean hand. He resumed speech like one who talks to himself. "I am a lone wolf, a solitary man, wandering through a world in which I have no part. I am wifeless, childless. Who is it speaks of the childless as the dead twigs on the tree of life? I am wifeless, childless. I could find no duty to do, no desire even in my heart. One thing at last I set myself to do. I said, I will do this, and to do it, to overcome the inertia of this dull body, I resorted to drugs. Great God, I've had enough of drugs. I don't know if you feel the heavy inconvenience of the body, its exasperating demand of time from the mind. Time, life. Live. We only live in patches. We have to eat, and then comes the dull digestive complacencies, or irritations. We have to take the air, or else our thoughts grow sluggish, stupid, run into gulfs and blind alleys. 1,000 distractions arise from within and without, and then comes drowsiness and sleep. Men seem to live for sleep. How little of a man's day is his own, even at his best. And then come those false friends, those thug helpers, the alkaloids that stifle natural fatigue and kill rest. Black coffee, cocaine, I see, said Isbister. I did my work, said the sleepless man with a querulous intonation. And this is the price? Yes. For a little while the two remained without speaking. You cannot imagine the craving for rest that I feel, a hunger and thirst. For 6 long days since my work was done, my mind has been a whirlpool, swift, unprogressive and incessant, a torrent of thoughts leading nowhere, spinning round, swift and steady. He paused. Towards the gulf. You must sleep, said Isbister, decisively, and with an air of remedy discovered. Certainly you must sleep. My mind is perfectly lucid. It was never clearer, but I know I am drawing towards the vortex. Presently, yes. You have seen things go down an eddy, out of the light of the day, out of this sweet world of sanity, down. But, expostulated Isbister, the man threw out a hand towards him, and his eyes were wild, and his voice suddenly high. I shall kill myself, if in no other way, at the foot of yonder dark precipice there, where the waves are green and the white surge lifts and falls, and that little thread of water trembles down. There, at any rate, is sleep. That's unreasonable, said Isbister, startled at the man's hysterical gust of emotion. Drugs are better than that. There, at any rate, is sleep, repeated the stranger, not heeding him. Isbister looked at him. It's not a cert, you know, he remarked. There's a cliff like that at Lulworth Cove, as high anyhow, and a little girl fell from top to bottom, and lives today, sound and well. But those rocks there? One might lie on them rather dismally through a cold night, broken bones grating as one shivered, chill water splashing over you, eh? Their eyes met. Sorry to upset your ideals, said Isbister, with a sense of devil-may-care-ish brilliance. But a suicide over that cliff, or any cliff for the matter of that. Really, as an artist, he laughed. It's so damned amateurish. But the other thing, said the sleepless man irritably. The other thing. No man can keep sane if night after night. Have you been walking along this coast alone? Editor Waz here. Just a quick note, there is the use of a word on the next page of this book that today would not be used in that same context. It has a negative use today, generally speaking. At the time, it had the definition used displayed on the screen at the minute, where the word is to mean working hard, toil, drudgery, that sort of thing, rather than any derogatory use. I just wanted to clarify that that is what the definition here is. Yes, silly sort of thing to do, if you'll excuse my saying so. Alone. As you say, body fag is no cure for brain... I think it's supposed to be fatigue. Brain fag. Maybe fog? I don't understand that. Who told you to? No wonder. Walking. And the sun on your head? Heat, fag, solitude all the day long, and then I suppose you go to bed and you try very hard, eh? Isbister stopped short and looked at the sufferer doubtfully. Look at these rocks, cried the seated man, with a sudden force of gesture. Look at that sea that has shone and quivered there forever. See the white spume rush into darkness under that great cliff. And this blue vault, with the blinding sun pouring from the dome of it. It is your world. You accept it, you rejoice in it. It warms and supports and delights you. And for me. Well, we come to the end of the episode, I'm afraid. Yes, we do come to the end of the episode. Interesting start. Don't fully know how to pronounce the name, but I think we're all right with that as it is. So I will say a quick yawn. Oh, excuse me. So, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, excuse me, as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.